Hi everyone, it is Mickey here from A Pretty Talent in the Waterwell Ministries, and today I'm just going to color this little page in my Bible. It's the start of the Old Testament, and the next page has Genesis in it, although we've got a lovely blank page over here that we're going to do something with still. But let's deal with this page first. And I've decided to use a different set of pencils. So I'm going to use my Derwent Coloursoft pencils. This is what they look like. Derwent Coloursoft. This one is the cranberry. And why not we use this to start with? So I'm going to start by color blocking some of the flowers that I want to do. Well, I want to color block the whole picture before we actually start shading and whatever it is. This is not a bad color. I've decided this one is going to be red. So cranberry C150. That is the number of the pencil. And the Derwent pencils you can buy singles, you can add to them. And if your pencil is used up, you can replenish just the one pencil. Now I'm saying you can do that, but I want to actually add in theory, here in South Africa, you can do that. Because finding an art shop that will stock these pencils individually and sell them individually is going to be a difficult thing to do. And I'm saying that living in the Johannesburg area, which is one of the hubs. We've got Cape Town, which is a hub, a city hub, importers hub, and Johannesburg. And if we can't find it here, the odds of you finding it somewhere else, it's slim. Although I have come across really, really well stocked, good art supply shops in other areas where you would you would not expect to find anything. So it's not impossible. Where do we go with this from here? I think there's only the one flower that looks like that. So let me leave that one be. I'm going to go on to pink C190, 190, and the majority of these are going to be done in this very light pale pink color. Now that one I want to take to red, and it's not there yet, but it can get there from this point. Coloursoft pencils are fantastic. But they are, to my knowledge, not oil-based pencils. They certainly don't feel like oil-based pencils. And if they're not, it means their layering is limited. You can't put down quite as many layers as you'd be able to with oil-based pencils. Okay, that's essentially what I'm going to be doing with all of these flowers. I'll do that off camera. Oh, here's another one of those flowers. I'll come across them as I sort of work my way around the picture. And then we have one more flower on this side. And that one I want to do in orange. Shades of orange. It's going to be a very warm, toned, coloring picture, this one. And I have considered this page when deciding upon the warm colors, because I wanted 2 pages. They are widely different pages. They will never look like a unity, but the colors can at least combine them slightly so that they come closer together. When I say closer together, it's a pathetic way of saying it. They just tie together more than they would if I had used completely different color tones. So in other words, I'm really hoping that the choice of colors will achieve the unity which I'm sorely lacking in theme and layout. Now, color blocking literally is old-fashioned coloring. It's literally just coloring in the lines and filling the space. You can leave white space if you want. You should. I'm not doing that. I'll return the white space afterwards. Right, unless I'm badly mistaken, those are the 3 flowers that we have going on this page. I don't think there are any others. And I think I'm going to stop the video and just color block these flowers, and then I'll start it up and show you how I carry on from that point on. Now I want to color block the flowers first before I color block the leaves, because once the flowers are in place, it will be easier to make sense of which leaves go with which flowers, etc., etc. So, yeah, at least I hope so. So I'll see you just now. Okay, I had a bit of a mishap there. I thought the video was recording when it wasn't, so let me see what I can do. I have colored these leaves with pea green, C430. Now there aren't any left for me to color, so but that's the color that I've used for this yellow flower. No, I lie. That was the mint. That was the mint. It's C470. These red flowers, or what will become red flowers, it was done with a pea green, C430. And the majority of the leaves will be colored with the light green, C440. And this is going to be the dominant green on the page, at least for now, while we're doing the color blocking. This will be the dominant green. Now, what I was saying on the video is, as you're coloring the leaves, you might come upon more petals or even whole flowers as you're developing the picture. And that's okay. You just sort of keep your pencils at hand. That's the whole idea behind the color blocking, is that you first get a clear picture of what it is that you are coloring, so that you can work with that. And once you've got your colors in place, your shapes actually in place, and you've made sense of them by color blocking them, then you can start developing them more fully and making them look more rounded and splendid and whatever it is. But essentially, now this is the mint. There I've just come up with a small piece that should still be done with mint. And then we're going to go around. Well, let's first do this part here. And just literally work your way around the picture shape by shape, block by block. It's nothing intricate at this stage. It's mostly rounded coloring, small circular movements. In some places, I color along with a line, and that's kind of, it'll be in spots where, for instance here, it's a little difficult, or maybe rather there, to do rounded shapes. And then I'll just do a lined color. And ideally, you don't want to work over already colored areas, so ideally, if you're right-handed, you work from the top left to the bottom right. But with this particular medium, it's not too much of a concern. You can kind of smear into the blank areas, but with the Coloursoft pencils, not too much of a risk. But bear in mind, your pencils might be different from mine, and then you want to be careful about that. Okay, I'm first going to stop, do my color blocking, and come back to you when I'm done. Okay, so here's what I've now done. I have color blocked the yellow, not color blocked. I have put in the deep shades of this yellow flower in a bright orange, C080. Then I have gone on to this red flower, and I've done the deep colors with a deep red. It's literally the name, deep red, C130. And then for the majority of the flowers, these pink ones, I'm going to use deep fuchsia C140. And so for all of them, basically what I'm doing is I'm putting this dark color in the centers, and for the rest I'm allowing the shading on the flower to guide my hand. So in this case, that's where the darks are, and that's where I'm going to make it darker. These dark spots there, dark spots there, and I'm literally just sort of following the shading that's been done beforehand. There's a bit of green. A spot of green missing there. And this is not rocket science, because these guys, the people who've developed, or the person who's developed this picture has really made it easy for us to see which areas are supposed to be dark and which areas are supposed to be light. And so if we just stick to those guidelines, we should be okay. Which means the final result should be fine. That's what that translates to. And some areas are darker than others, and I kind of tend to make them darker. And if I see the lines are not quite as on top of each other, then I lift my hand a little bit and I make it a little lighter. And so already there is a bit of play in the light and dark in these flowers. I'll just develop this cluster and then I'll switch off, just so that you can sort of get an idea of where we're going with this. And yeah, that's what we're doing with our deep color. It's not going to look good yet. We're not done yet, but it is starting to develop. So anyways, that's it for now. I'll switch on again when I go to the next phase. Okay, so the darks are in, the dark colors are in, And I am now blending the colors together. So I've got orange C070 here. And all I'm doing is bringing the two colors together with this one. Just literally blending the whole flower with this color. Don't get excited if you think your darks are disappearing. We are going to bring them back again. They're not disappearing, they're still there, but we are pushing them back just ever so slightly with this color. And I'm not going to do the whole picture, but I will do one flower in each color with these. I've already done one flower as an example, but I want to show you what I do. So I'll do a second flower on video, and then again switch off, and that's sort of the rhythm that we're going to follow today. Now you can see, now it's starting to look very nice. Not done yet, but it's starting to look way better. Okay, so my red flowers, this one has been done. I'm doing with Rose C100 and literally just blending them. Let me catch these small ones. Just blending them. Might as well do the last one of these. Tying it all neatly together. And that's pretty much it there. Now, the majority of the flowers is going to be done with bright pink C200. And all I'm doing is once again just bringing it all together. I don't know how many of you like adult coloring books. I do, and I've got quite a few. But essentially, I don't know what to do with those books once I've spent all this time coloring the pictures. And the result is that I've sort of stopped coloring in the adult coloring books. What happens when I color in my Bibles is at least I use the Bibles again constantly, actually. And it seems to be, to me, there's more of a point to the coloring when it's done in the Bible. Now, what's the point of art? The point of art is to relax. So I know my argument does not hold water. To relax, to give you an outing for your creativity. Sort of take stock of life and come to terms with life in these kind of times when you can busy your head with pretty things, and just get in a better headspace. That's the point of art. But somewhere inside of me, there's a part of me that balks at the idea of wasting, I know it's not a waste, wasting all that time on a page that nobody is ever going to look at again. And try as I might, I can't move myself past that. It's a bit sad. Perhaps it's because there is so much that needs to be done. So when I do the colouring in the Bibles, Well, normally it would be in conjunction with an actual Bible study, so it's definitely not a waste of time. But on these pages, that's not in conjunction with a Bible study because there's no biblical passage linked to it. It comes very close to being that waste of time again. But because it's in the Bible, and I will at some point at least page past it, it's a more acceptable waste of time. And I don't know how you guys feel about this. Because, oh my goodness, we can spend a lot of time on these activities. But as long as nothing else is suffering in our lives, no other aspect is left undone, certainly, this should be okay. Now the tests are set, practicals are marked. I want to put some finishing touches on my exams still that I need to set, or needed to set. But for the majority, the work is done. And so therefore, why not get on with sitting down and relaxing with a coloring picture. Anyways, I've gone way further than I thought I would. I'm going to switch off and come back when I introduce the deeper layers for the leaves. Okay, so the blending is done on the flowers, and we're now bringing in the shades on the deep shades on the leaves. So for these orange flowers, their leaves, I've got mid green C400, and I am literally just doing a deep shade and pretty much following the lines indicated to me on the leaves itself. Now there isn't too much to do. This one I've done off camera, so that one I think is actually pretty much done. Now this red flower, I'm using dark green C14 and well on its leaves, and just again putting it in those dark spots following the indications of the existing lines. I'm not too strictly sticking to it, because if it needs a little bit more, I'll give it a little bit more, but if you're uncertain, just following those lines should be ample. There's more here. Here. Okay, and that's it for that one. Now, the majority of the leaves, the pink flowers, is going to get this green, C420, just called green. And again, just going to come in. I wonder if this one isn't too light. What if, I'm looking at the colors available, and this one seems a little light to me. So what if I went a different direction with this, and I do Lincoln green? This is a little bit off the beaten track here. C480. Let me see if I like that one better. No. No. Rather go back to that other one. No, I'm going to go with green, C420. It is the one I like best. I have this set of 72 pencils, and I'm now just finding that I would have loved to have just a slightly darker green here. But I could have used blue, because green is made up of yellow and blue. And if I was completely and utterly unhappy with this color, I would have gone to the blue. I had considered it, and actually pulled out a blue pencil, but I didn't quite like it to go for the shades to be that cool. Green is slightly warmer than blue, and I could bring it back again with either a yellow or a yellowish green on top. But honestly, I didn't want it to go that dark. And now if you see me developing these leaves here, you can see that there's ample depth added with this pencil. It would have been unnecessary to have gone on to a blue. Well, in any case, I'm going to develop the rest of the leaves like this, and then I'll be back again. Okay, so I have done most of the blending. The flowers over here, these orangey ones, they were blended with pale mint, C490. The red flowers I blended with yellow green, C450. Not the flowers, the leaves. And the pink flowers I blended with lime green, C460. So I've left this one to do, and really all we're doing is once again going over everything with this pencil and just blending these colors in. Bringing them all together. Now, there is something I have not mentioned that I have done, and that is to put this page behind my coloring page. Now, if you look at this page, at the back of this, can you see the indents? The embossing that's taking place as a result of my coloring. I don't want those embossed areas on the rest of my pages. And for that reason, I am putting this in between the two pages. And this is just an old laminated sheet. And so the knocks of the indents will go into this sheet rather than into the rest of the Bible, and then affect the rest of the Bible with the coloring. Okay, so what is our next step? Our next step is to find our black pencil and to put our darkest darks in with a black. Now here's where I'm running into. I'm going to do this now. Yeah. Okay, let me do both, and then we can compare. you compare this, the Coloursoft Black, to this, which is a Brut Funer Black 001. The Brut Funer is an oil-based pencil. And when I now bring my Coloursoft pencil in, I find that my page is a little bit, well, my pencils don't want to layer any longer, because remember I started out saying this is not an oil-based pencil. I'm going to put that one back. The oil-based pencils will layer far beyond the point where the other pencils will layer. So even though I'm working on another pencil or over another type of pencil, I can now with an oil-based pencil keep adding to the center of the flower. Now if this is too dark, you can come in once again with your blender and you can blend it. And you're going to have to make that cool for yourself. I kind of think I want to just blend the ends and keep the centers quite dark. And that I think is what I will do with all of them, even the leaves. That's where I'm going now. So I'm going to be working with my Brut Funer, the oil-based pencil, and my blender for whichever area of the coloring page I'm on. So that's what I'm doing in this next step, and then I'll come back and deal with the rest of the page. Okay, so that's the black put in, and now I'm going to use my eraser pencil, and I am simply going to put a bit of highlights back into the coloring where it is absolutely the lightest on each of the petals or leaves or whatever the case might be. Just bringing in the highlights, and this doesn't have to be something exaggerated. Very quickly, you're not even trying to erase sorry, all the color from the petals, but just some, so that there's a little bit more variation. And this is going to be a rather quick activity. Ooh, there I've gone over the lines. My eraser is too dirty. So I keep one of these at hand, and when my eraser gets too dirty, I clean it with that. Okay. How to do it. You'll find it is a little bit easier to put the highlights in if your eraser is cleaner and not actually just taking the color from one area to the next and adding it to that area. At this stage I'm still sticking to the flower petals, but I will be doing the same thing to the leaves as well. See how dirty that is? Let's clean it up again. And I will at some point sharpen the eraser, but that's not quite yet. Now the important thing is not to overthink this process. Honestly, don't sit here and dwell over where you want to do this or whatever it is. You're looking for the lightest point, and you're just doing a very quick erasing at that point and moving right on. And then, as I said, and let me show you this, we do the same thing on the leaves. I'm going to come back when I'm done with that and show you what I've done further on. Okay, right, so I have added the white or the eraser, making it lighter. And then I have gone around the oval frame, or well, it's not quite an oval frame, with sea green C380. And I have just done these the two wider lines in the frame with this sea breeze. Now let me just hold it down here so I can get in there. Right, and that's pretty much what I've done with that one. Now let's put that one aside. I'm now going to come in with this one, Electric Blue C320, and that's going to be the small center line here. Now the reason that I've opted for blues here, 2 shades of blue, is that this picture is actually rather warm. It's a very warm tone, and we can cool it down a bit. It can do with some cooling down. So I'm bringing a cooler color in. The greens are slightly cooler, but since they're not very bluish greens, they're still warmer greens as well. Right, and that's what I'm going to do there. Now we need to tend to this little birdie here. And I'm going to come in with a color I've already used, bright orange, C080. Oh goodness, it's very blunt now, so let me just sharpen it a bit. I haven't got quite the right sharpener here. So I'm using this one, but it's a bit of a tight squeeze, to be quite honest. I should have gone in search of a better sharpener, and I've got so many sharpeners in the house. Yeah, I have a Derwent sharpener. I should have gone for that one. Okay, so I'm just adding a bit of orange to the legs and the beak of the bird. I'm wondering, I'm gonna bring a bit of orange into the feather areas as well. And I'm not using a reference photo today. I'm feeling quite daring, and I'm going to color the bird sort of with whatever colors come to mind. It's not going to be representative of any bird anywhere in the world. But in any case, that's what I want to do. Okay, let's stop with that now. Let's go on to using yet another color. No, I don't want to go. Do I? Yes, I do. Okay, this is Cranberry C150. And these dark areas on the head, I'm going to do those with the cranberry. A little bit under the chin, a little bit into the feathers. Not too much. I actually don't know what I'm doing here. But I believe that kind of goes without saying. I think it's rather obvious. Prussian blue, C310. And I'm going to come in here. working right over that red with the Prussian blue. Even working over the orange with the Prussian blue. And darkening that area around the eye. Now, how bright do we want to go with this little bird? Let's be very bright. This is lemon yellow C030. Right over the orange again. We'll take it slightly into the tail and not all the way. No, I'm going to take it all the way in. Now I'm going slightly over areas that I had previously done with a Prussian blue so that I get a green there. And I'm bringing that Prussian blue right into the ends of the tail feathers now, so that once again it creates a shade of green there. Now that greenish color I want to come down here on the stomach with. Then I'm going to make it darker, sort of at the top there. And this is now adding a bit of roundedness. This is the cranberry right on the tip of the beak. And now I want to come in with a very pale blue, baby blue, C340, and I'm going to blend. Actually, I think before I start blending, I want to bring my black pencil back in, and I want to add the dark shaded areas. Don't overwork them, don't overthink them. Be guided by what you see in front of you already. Okay, and then I'm going to come in. Oh my goodness, the beak. Oops, the beak was not shaded. That was my glove. That I keep thinking I'm going to put it on, and then I don't. So now I've almost colored the whole picture and I still haven't put on my glove yet. I am even shading the yellow with this baby blue, which means it's going to go to a green. But it's not a green that you'll find anywhere else on the page, because we're creating it. Okay, that's not too shabby. I like that. That's good enough. I was maybe working just a little bit too fast. Let me now sharpen this thing so that I can get a sharper point on this. This thing is the eraser pencil that I'm now sharpening because I have been a bit over hasty. I've been at this for hours, even though the video isn't quite as long. Okay, so that said, I didn't think this would go quite as fast. Give me 1 sec to grab my inks. It is just outside of reach. Outside of my reach, I should say. And I am going to, oh goodness, which ink do we come in with? Let's go with the yellow. The yellow on that page. I'm not sure it's the exact same yellow that I used on the other page. It doesn't matter. Ranger, Adirondack, bright sunshine yellow. That one didn't want to come out. And I'm just adding this. I don't mind going over my coloring with this brush. Oof. Okay, like honestly, slow down. There is such a thing as too fast. But also don't overthink this now. Aye. Now we've still got the word Old Testament that we need to deal with, and I'm aware of that. But I think I want to do something a little bit different there. And so I've left it uncolored. Okay. That should do it for our background. Now I can tell you it's not the same ink that I've used on this side. I believe this was the O2 ink. And this is actually a brilliant comparison. So let me quickly talk about that. If you're into the inks, then this is something you want to know. This ink blends beautifully. The O2 ink, you get those blotchy areas. I didn't mind that because of the subject matter, which was kind of, these things have the spots. So the spottiness of the blending didn't bug me in the least there. I actually thought it contributed to the final product. But if you're going for a soft blend, go with another ink. The O2s don't quite do that, the O2 inks. Okay, now let me pause and find the pen that I want to do that with. Okay, so I am simply going to use a neon gel pen, and it's gold, and I'm doing small circular movements. Oh dear. And I'm going to color the word as is. Now, the gel pen can leak through to this side, it's true. And I'll deal with that. You can use your gel pen. Goodness, I haven't used these in a while. You can use your gel pens in conjunction with a watercolor brush and sort of put a layer of pen down and then smooth it out with a watercolor brush. It works beautifully. It's a fantastic finish. But if you do that, you can be guaranteed that there's going to be a tremendous bleed through. The color will show, not just some sort of shadowing like you've got there. Tremendous bleed through on the other side of the page. Now, I don't want to risk doing that. I am going to, I'm thinking that's what I want to do. Maybe I shouldn't commit myself to doing that, because I'm bound to change my mind somewhere down the line. I do change my mind. But you can see this is looking rather cute. So I'm probably going to put down a layer of white gesso there. And specifically white gesso because, well, I'm going to cover whatever shows through. And it is more than I want to show through. So whatever shows through, even you can see that that red was picked up there, maybe a shadow of that red was picked up there. So to cover that, I'm going to start with a layer of white gesso. But, okay, I have transparent gesso in the house, but I'm not going to use the transparent gesso because, well, there's nothing that I want to show through the gesso in the first place. And in the second place, the white gesso will mask whatever is on the page, visible on the page right now. So once I've returned that page to stark white with a layer of white gesso, might even do a second layer, I doubt it, nothing there tells me it's going to warrant a second layer of gesso, but that's a possibility. So if you're working on a page and it looks like you need to do a second layer of gesso, then go for it. Let the first layer dry completely and then add your second layer. Don't close your Bible in between these drying times. It's got to, I'd leave my Bible open for about, well, at least 24 hours, but longer if possible. I say that, and I know there were times when I hadn't, but then what I tend to do is I put these in between, these kind of sheets that I've got, the laminated sheets, so that if anything was not completely dry, then the pages don't stick to each other, because the gesso will work as a glue. It will do the same thing as glue does. Don't go using gesso as glue, but it can stick your papers together. I suppose because it has an acrylic base. I don't know. I don't know too much about the making of gesso, but that would make sense to me. Or maybe not. I don't know. Whatever. Why am I talking about that? I don't know. I'm talking about stuff I know nothing about, so ignore me on that. What I do know is that it will stick. Like wet paint sticks to each other. So gesso, one gessoed page will stick to another gessoed page, or one ungessoed page will stick to a gessoed page. So leave it to dry. Unless you're going to put something plasticky, that kind of finish, in between, so that they don't stick to each other. This you can pry loose without too much effort. But prying pages loose that's been stuck together, not so easy. You will lose something in the process. Okay, and then when I'm done with that, when the gesso is dry, what I think I want to do, and this is me today, down the line, if I change my mind, I change my mind. But I think I would like to do something with acrylic paint there. Some sort of painting or something in acrylic paint. Well, that's what I'm thinking now. Do you need to gesso before you start with acrylic paint on paper? No, you don't. You really don't have to. You can just work directly on that page. I'm going to do the gesso because of this shadowing, the colors and stuff that I've got going here. I want to mask that a little bit before I start with the painting, whatever I end up doing there on that side. Is gesso a good idea regardless of whether you want to cover up something? Yes, absolutely, it is. Once I've put a layer of gesso down, it pretty much doesn't matter what I come in with afterwards. Even my alcohol markers, which bleeds the most, more than anything else, I can then safely work with that on that page. But that's next time. That is it. I think the 2 pages come together nicely enough. They are completely different in style. They're completely different in colors. But the fact that I've sort of pulled it in with the yellow on the background and even going over the flowers and things with the yellow, it ties it a little bit better together. It will never form a unity as such, but it's not too shabby. Are there more things that I can do here? Yes. I have not really developed the stems and things on these flowers. But I don't really feel as if I want to either. I'm kind of thinking maybe a little bit, but I don't actually want to. I think I'm going to leave it at that. Call it a day. I can always just add a little bit of highlight to my bird. It's not necessary. Honestly, it's not necessary. Let me leave it at that. So let me rather bid you a farewell and give you a blessing as we part our ways till the next video. May God our Father and the Lord Jesus Christ guard your hearts and minds, and may He be the pivotal figure in your lives as His Holy Spirit leads you in His ways and His eternal plan for your life. That is my prayer for you in Jesus' name. Till next time, see you in the next video, guys. Cheers.